and welcome to a Gooner Ramble West Bromwich Albion preview special. It's a special podcast, just midweek, we're just throwing it out there. Because, it's been an international break and a few things have been going on, and today was the press conference. This is being recorded on Thursday, by the way, so just in case you know. And tonight, joining us, I've got regular Judd. Judd, how are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. And back on the pod, it's the first lady of the Gooner Ramble. It's Sima.
Hey.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too shabby. Well, guys, it's been a rough week without football. International football was on. It weren't great. Obviously, things happening around the world which were terrible, which affected a lot of international football. We'll touch on that a lot later, I'm sure. But today, Arsene Wenger's press conference came out. Obviously, we've all watched it, read the notes, everything else, and he's talked about team selection. Obviously, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Ramsey are out. That's a blow. And there's a few topics we can go over. So who wants to start it off?
Well, I'll go ahead and just bring up the obvious, the horrible events that took place in France on last Friday. Koscielny still played in the international game there in England. Anyway, hearts go out to all the people that were affected by things, and apparently it was, pretty shocking to Koscielny, and you could see his emotion on the field. And the boss said that he'd speak with him before the game, make sure his head's in the right spot before he made any team selection. Personally, I feel that it would probably be wisest to just give him a little bit of time off. And then the flip side of the coin is it's a good way to get a distraction by going out there and playing. But if he's not all together with it, it's probably wisest to just go ahead and give Gabriel a chance. He's been well rested.
Yeah, I looked a bit at the statistics of West Brom just before we recorded, and Rondon and I think it's Berahino are their top scorers with 3. So they're not really firing on all cylinders, and I think Mertesacker and Gabriel are well in the right mind to contain West Brom's striking options. I don't mean like well in the right mind mentally as well. Obviously that helps if anybody wants to jump in there and think I'm taking Koscielny's mental state into bad territory. But for me, if he said, I remember reading it after the game at Wembley that all of our heads weren't in the right place and we apologise for the result and everything else. And I just think if it's the crunch time of the season, and I don't want to sound harsh, but if his mind isn't all there, I wouldn't risk it. If it's not good for him to be out there, if he doesn't feel comfortable, then you give these players times off. Obviously, there's been other times where footballers have had family members pass away, everything else. They've requested time off. I feel it's the same thing. It could affect people's mental state, and if it's going to make him worse, then just leave it be.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you guys, but at the same time, obviously I sympathize with him, and it's very close to home to me too, because I am very used to, it's really sad to say, but I'm used to this. And post-traumatic stress is a big deal. Like, a lot of people downplay it a lot, but it does play a big role in your life. But for me, if I'm just thinking about football itself without thinking about the other side of it, I really hope he would be able to play, because, the last couple of times we saw Gabriel and Mertesacker together, it was not very pretty. So, yeah, so I would hope that we would be able to play with Koscielny, or at least that they would step it up. And the fact that Bellerin's back also could be an advantage, because if he plays with Campbell, it's better than Campbell and Debuchy. And it's all kind of like a cycle, but yeah, definitely would be better if Koscielny could be playing.
Yeah, I agree. And you talk about, we'll stick to the back four. You talk about Hector Bellerin coming back. That is a massive boost. I know the Tottenham podcast we did, we didn't really go hard on Debuchy. We were quite subjective in our analysis of what's happened there with him, and I just feel maybe, footballing wise at the moment, it's not all clicking for Debuchy. I'm not going to be one of these people that jump the gun and go, he's shit, sell him, get him out. That's not the way I'm inclined. I believe there is a good player in there. It's just at the moment he's been eclipsed by a younger, quicker, and one of the best right backs, dare I say, in the world at the moment. I think if you look at right backs on a whole that are young, that have got this potential at such a young age, Hector Bellerin's right up there. I can't think of any others really. Some people argue about Seamus Coleman at Everton, but he's nowhere near what Bellerin's been doing this season for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's had a great season so far, and I mean, he's just won the Catalan Young Player of the Year, and he's been nominated for.
Christ Almighty, God, how many people were nominated for that? There's loads.
Yeah,
There's tons of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's also high on confidence, but to go back to Debuchy, I think it's also a matter there has been a lot of injuries, there has been a lot of changes in the team, and I think that also, I mean, the team as a whole was not really gelling. He did have good moments against Tottenham, but at the same time, yeah, he hasn't had the best of times, and I mean, it's sad that he would be edged out by a young player, but it's obviously a great thing for us. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely, I agree wholeheartedly there. And Judd, what about yourself? How important is Bellerin? Do you feel?
Oh, massive. I mean, he's certainly solidified his spot in the first team. Having him back, yeah, definitely going to be a major boost. And it's a good opponent for him to come back. Hopefully, I mean, they are quick and physical, but hopefully, he'll be able to manage well, and we won't be under pressure for the entire game. It's not like when Bayern Munich's coming at us, nonstop. Hopefully he can kind of ease his way back in and regain his match fitness, and all will be well. Yeah,
I mean, West Brom to me, they're a typical type of Tony Pulis side. They're very physical, and like you said, they are quite quick, but they're very tall. They're very big. They're big, strong, burly type of footballers like Tony Pulis likes. And I feel having Bellerin back, not only is he improving defensively, but I think going forward he will offer so much more, and hopefully on the old overlaps, if he can ping a few of the balls in like we've seen him do, we can happily get out there with the 3 points which we need. But moving on to the midfield, obviously Chamberlain sadly and Ramsey sadly are still out, so it's going to be a tricky one. I mean, thank God Ozil got a break. He'll be refreshed, he'll be out there, so I'll be happy to see him back. But who do you start on the wings? People are saying Sanchez, and thanks to Chile again for playing him in both the bloody games. Did he play the full 90 minutes in both? Did people know? Do you guys know?
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe he did.
All right, it's because thanks for that, Chile.
Yeah,
but it's weird because my gut instinct is I think he needs a rest, and I'm not saying West Brom are a bad team, but they're not, at the level that you think. And I know the Premier League, everybody's at a good level, James. I've said this so many times, I'm sort of contradicting my own self here, but I just feel maybe have him on the bench, perhaps. I just feel he needs a rest. I wouldn't start him, but then who'd you put out there? Like who do you put on that side? I mean, you got Joel Campbell on the other side, you got Coquelin obviously, and Cazorla that are going to play. It's just, who do you put there? So I think it's going to be Sanchez and probably Giroud, isn't it? What do you guys think?
Yeah, that'd be the obvious selection for sure. It would be nice if we could get him a chance to get some rest, because it's been pretty apparent even in the last few matches before the break that he was probably running on empty there. Yeah. He could really use with a break. I mean, last podcast we were talking about that, and I think it was after the Tottenham game we were talking about how much he looked like he could use some time off. Yeah. It's unfortunate that it would have been nice if he could have gotten a rest during the international break.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have had to go without him, but it's a long season, and hopefully this is a game that we would be able to win without him. I believe it's one that we could, but you never know, and you never want to be without your best players. But if there were a game to do it, this would be it.
Yeah, he's one of them people though, isn't he, where he's knackered, but he'll come back and score like 5 goals and just like with one, standing on one leg or something. He's that kind of superhuman kind of guy, isn't he? Yeah, it's so hard with Sanchez because he's one of them type of players that he'll have to have his leg hanging off to not want to play. He's always going to go on playing. So it's just like, what do you do? Because people have been slating his performances lately, and we posted in the WhatsApp, didn't we, about how much of the ball he's losing and everything else. But he is just special, and he is the best player in our team. And it's, what do you do without him, really? We are sort of buggered in a way. Sima, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys, but I think also it's also a matter of who can play instead of him, because we have so many injuries right now.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, other than the fact that he played for Chile, he was also traveling across the world, so that's also very tiring. And then before that as well, like Judd said, he was already looking very tired. And I think for the past couple of games, we kept thinking, okay, can he rest him now? Can he rest him now? Can he take him off? And he wouldn't take him off. But I think it's also because, like Ozil, he's one of those players, and like Ramsey, he's one of those players that even when he's having an off game, he will do one thing that will change the game, even if it is 1 out of 20 chances or whatever that he's tried and missed. One thing would make a difference. So, I mean, that is the only reason I would play him, but I really wish we would be able to rest him if there was someone available instead.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if we had Gnabry, but obviously he's on loan at West Brom. He can't play in the game, but he would have been nice to have. He would have been an option, but other than that, I can't see Wenger starting the 2 left footers. I can't see him having Campbell one side and Gibbs the other. So I'm guessing it is going to be Sanchez, and then up top, obviously, is Giroud. And you have to question it into again this with Koscielny's state and everything else. What kind of state is Giroud going to be in? I feel that part of me thinks that Koscielny and Giroud will probably be defiant in it and go, do you know what? I'm going to play for the fact of I'm not going to let this. I want to say the word I'm trying to think of, like fear-mongering and stuff like that. I think that they're going to feel, the rest of France and Paris especially, I saw on the news today they switched the Christmas lights on, and they did have the parade obviously, but they switched them on because they said, look, we're not going to let this fear take over us, and we're going to crack on and do what you have to do, which is the right attitude. I remember I was only a young lad, but New York in 2001 after 9/11, the next day, however hard it was, they got up again and you rebuild and you crack on. That's what you have to do, and that's what I feel that Koscielny and them will do, hopefully. But if you can't play, then I totally understand. I can't slate him for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also in the press conference, Wenger talked about he wanted stricter testing for doping. What do you guys make of that? I don't know. Is there any players in Arsenal that are on performance enhancing drugs? I hope not.
Well, no, but I have heard about
Yeah.
I have heard about something recently, and I don't want to really name any the player, but I have heard there was a player that was with us 2 seasons ago, and it was a major problem, and no one knew till the end of the season, because that's when they did the test, or the beginning of the season to actually for transfers and stuff. So I think it is important because there's a lot of players that have so much potential and so much talent, and they really abuse it because of their attitudes, because of drinking, because of all of the drugs. But I don't think anyone notices or knows about them till later on when their career is at stake, and then we're like, okay, what happened to him? I thought he was a great player. Why did he take a dip in form? And then, so I think it should be something that is, much more frequent. And I think if it is within, because I think from what I read is that he wants it to he wants the club themselves to actually be able to do it before games and stuff, right?
Yes, yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's the Premier. I don't know if the Premier League just do random screenings. I don't know if they just pull. Because I remember Cazorla couldn't do this interview once because he was being screened for a test, and that's the one where Giroud pretended to shake his hand. Where he was really low down, pretending to shake his hand and giving him an award. So I think they just literally just pick players out and say this is when you're doing your screening. So I think that Wenger himself wants every single player to be picked and screened and everything else, which I can see why. In sport at the moment, especially athletics and cycling. Oh my days, God! It seems all of them are doing it in cycling. So I can see why they want the tests done, but I don't know. I don't know if the Premier League will listen to him and pass that bill.
Yeah, and I don't know how extensive it is already over there, but with the NFL over here, it's completely random. They'll select a third of the squad every game to go in for a screen. And then once you've been caught, there's, off season, they can test you up to 200 times a year. Mm. So, it gets really ridiculous though for the people that have been offending. But I think it's a good debate. Over here, a lot of people even say, just go ahead, let them do it. If, they want to put that into their body, that's fine, as long as it's an even playing field. The problem comes when you don't have any rules one way or the other.
Yeah.
And, when there's half-ass testing, pardon my French, but, it doesn't really accomplish anything because nobody really takes it seriously. If there's no punishment, there's no suspensions, fines, things like that, nobody really cares. So if you're going to do it, they got to do it all in.
Yeah, exactly. But I believe as well that it's very hard for a footballer because there's some prescription drugs that they can take, stuff for headaches and everything else like that, and some of the ingredients in them make them piss them off.
Yeah.
And it will come up. I remember Colo Torre the other year said that he took his wife's slimming pills, and obviously he failed the drugs test for the ingredient. I don't know if that's true. That's what Colo Torre said. And, you can only believe what he stated, but, it's hard, for a footballer, because some of them could be pulled up and fined for, prescription tablets. It's just how you go about it, isn't it?
That's what they have team physicians for.
Yes.
The team physicians got to, be held accountable for making sure that they're not putting things that are banned into their body.
Yeah.
The same thing, you hear those stories over here too, guys taking ephedrine for, weight loss or energy or whatever, and that's one of the banned substances. And, it sucks, but tough. You take that risk, you know what the rules are.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, I'm only generalising because, obviously I'm English and I know what English people are like. I think if we were tested for substances over here in the Premier League, it'd primarily be probably drinking and maybe recreational drugs at best. I can't really think of any of the football players taking performance-enhancing drugs. Wayne Rooney's hardly got the physique of someone who's on performance-enhancing drugs. He's a bit chubby. Jamie Vardy's hardly, ripped and lean. So it's just a weird, I think if you test them, it'd probably just be nicotine and probably Stella or Heineken or something that will come up. But I doubt it'd be performance-enhancing drugs. But was there anything else in the press conference that you guys wanted to speak about? Obviously, Wenger talked that he was in a hotel in Paris and he had an appointment which made him late for the game, which he eventually watched on TV. So it was a lucky one there. But was there anything else you guys wanted to touch on?
Not really. I think we did mention everything except for... no, we did. Everything. Walcott.
Yeah.
2-3 weeks.
Yeah, sadly, he would have been great to have against West Brom as well.
But he did say he might actually have a speedy recovery, but the thing is, it's just a matter of, you can't really tell till he does the fitness tests and stuff. So, again, that's kind of a positive in the sense that our recoveries are still going faster than expected, except for Jack Wilshere, Rosicky, and
I think Rosicky gets lonely, so Jack Wilshere just stays in there with him for as long as possible. I think they do. Now that Diaby's gone, they all need like a new roommate because Diaby's gone now, so they need someone else to like sort of talk to whilst they're in there. And it must get awfully lonely in that treatment room. So it seems to be filling up. For me, it says Walcott 2 weeks. I don't know if it's just me, but I can't trust our diagnosis and prognosis and everything for all these injuries now. I can't. It's been,
I understand
for
that.
For me, Walcott probably be back next Christmas. Do you know what I mean? I can't. I can't trust them. Like, I want to say to him, yeah, all right, yeah, but I can't do it. It's a bit like when my mum tells me my dinner's going to be ready in 20 minutes. I know it won't be, but you just go, yeah, all right. Do you know what I mean? I go, yeah, okay, mum, yeah, all right. They're lying. You just go, yeah, okay. So just sort of palm it away. What, do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, the last few years have certainly conditioned us to react that way to injuries, but as Sima was saying, it has gotten better. We have had people getting back a lot quicker. Last year was the first year where we've really, not been completely just decimated with injuries for 3 months at a time that carry on to 6, 7, 8 months. And, so far this year, knock on wood, it hasn't been too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Walcott's a big loss, but...
Yeah. Welbeck seems to have been out forever. People have even forgotten he's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just seems like the other week he scored that goal against Man United, and then we've haven't seen him since, really. But he's got him to come back. He'll be an important player when he comes back as well, I feel. So
yeah, I agree, definitely.
I look forward to having him back. And Ramsey as well. He weren't on the best of form before he got injured. He come back and got that goal at Watford, and I thought, here we go. This is just where Ramsey's going to kick on, and then he gets injured again. It's so stop-start with some of these players. It's so frustrating. But moving on to another thing this week, obviously there's been You know, it comes up to that time near January where you get the silly transfer rumours, even for next season. And a man has
signing Messi.
Yeah, I was just about to say, a man has started a campaign. He wants, you know, 600,000 a week or something. It was wages. He said if we get all these Arsenal fans to pay £1 a week, we can do it. I mean, so
I've heard of silly rumors, but come on, man. That just that takes the cake. I mean, 600K. I know we've kind of adjusted our pay schedule, but I don't see us paying anybody even half that. I mean, that's just a ridiculous sum. Even half of that is a ridiculous sum.
I don't even know if we've got any players that are on more than 250. I believe Sanchez's new contract's 220. I believe.
Oh, is it really?
I believe Ozil's.
I didn't realize that.
Who's?
I think Sanchez is going up to 220 grand a week.
Oh, I heard 150.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, I thought it was 220, and then Ozil was going to two. Oh, it might be Ozil that's going to be 220 then.
Yeah, probably.
I know someone's going to a lot bigger money, but 600 grand a week. You know, if it happens, I'll kindly pay the £1 a week. £1 a week's fine. You know, I spend that nearly a day on like sweets and stuff like that. I'll just not have candy a day. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, I'll pay it if it means he's coming, but you know. And you see these polls and stuff that people do on Twitter, and they're like, "Would you pay it?" And I see a lot of Arsenal fans go, "No," and I'm like, "What? Why?" They're like, "It's too much." I'm like, "It's messy. Come on." Like if we've got all the money there, and it's, you know, if there's even, I want to say like a fag paper's chance of signing Messi, you do it, don't you? You don't question it. You do it straight away.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I think anyway, shirt sales itself would just pay wages.
Oh, shirt sales, cool. I'll be the first one in the queue. It was like earlier in the year when those Zlatan rumours were hitting the thing. I was like, oh, don't do it to me, Arsenal. I don't want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and run to the bloody shop in the tent or whatever, camp outside and get one. I don't want to do it. But, oh, God. So, yeah, we probably won't sign Messi. Sorry for getting your hopes up if you're listening, everybody. You know, we occasionally get carried away. But I think we've done about 20 odd minutes here. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about, or do you want to wrap it up?
No, but I mean, if I'm going to make a prediction for the match, playing away, I'm going to have to say 2-1, and Giroud, I think will have a brace. I'd like to see him get some form going, and hopefully carry some momentum into the rest of the season, especially now that we're coming up on the holidays and the fixtures schedule is going to get pretty jammed up, especially once the FA Cup starts.
Yeah, exactly. And Sima, if I could ask you for your prediction and your first goal scorer for the game?
I would say 2-0 Giroud.
Nice. We've all gone for the 2. I was going to go for 2-1, but I think 2-0. Looking at the statistics, like I said, they're not really firing them in. But I'm going to go for Mesut Ozil. There was a good article midweek. Someone posted about Ozil saying that he's staying behind after training to practice on his finishing, and he wants to get 10 plus goals this season. So hopefully, he can crack on. I'm going to go for Ozil on.
Well, he certainly gets in position to score at least 10 goals a year.
Yeah, but he passes instead, doesn't he?
I wasn't going to say it.
His mind's on assist. I don't blame him. He's good at it. So
he's actually trying this season, which is great. I mean, before
he is.
Now he is, and it's not a pass anymore. Like usually he passed it to the goalkeeper, and now he'd actually shoot at the goal.
Yeah. It just upsets me because you remember when he first signed, and he absolutely slammed that one in against Napoli. I was like, oh, he's got I didn't know he had this in his locker. He's got shoot on sight, power and all this, and he's never done it since. It's just like, come on.
I'll tell you, that shot that he had at the beginning of the Bayern match, any other goalkeeper, man, that's in, and that was perfectly placed just inside the far post. That was a beautiful shot. Hopefully there's more of that to come.
Yeah. Well, I'll take the liberty of saying if you are going to the game on Saturday, and if I know we got some people that listen that are fans of other clubs, which baffles me. It's weird, but anyway, if you are going to a game this week, the French national anthem will be on before the game, as well as a silence. Take part in it, please. Solidarity is something that I talk about a lot, and we've had people on this podcast itself, even when we were with Arsenal Fan TV. That are of Muslim faith, and I like the fact that Arsenal are a very cosmopolitan club, and we need to stand together to stand up against these tragedies and everything else in the world. And my thoughts go out to everybody in Paris, Nigeria, Egypt, everywhere that's had these attacks this week. You know, people just have sort of zoned in on Paris as it's a big city and it's close to the UK and everything else, but it's going on around the world and it's awful. So, you know, just take part and don't try and be a hero and do something silly. You see it all the time in silences. People, you know, try and be funny and stuff like that. It's not that time. It's not the place. Just, you know, take part and enjoy the game as well. And I bet you guys feel the same way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But just a note on that. There was, I think, something that happened in Turkey where they talked about them, you know, like that they started booing, but it was actually not the case. They were actually chanting something that they chant against terrorism.
Yes.
And
yeah,
I thought it was really sad that the media made it look like Turkey was against the minute of silence, and it really isn't. And I think it's been going around a lot in the media now. There's a lot of, you know, contradictions between these things, and I think people need to actually start reading more and seeing more before they actually judge something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for me, the quote that's been thrown around is evil only prevails when good people do nothing. So, you know, just do something, stand up for it, and, you know, get involved. If you don't know the words, just try and join in, you know. it's all good. But thanks for listening, and we'll be back probably Saturday after the game for another podcast. So you know, keep subscribed on iTunes, the RSS feed, the SoundCloud, the website. What else we got? We got an Instagram. We got everything. We got pretty much everything. I've got a Tinder profile. So, you know, we just everything we got. We got it all. We got it all. So you'll find us somewhere. You know, watch it, listen to it, do whatever, and enjoy. Take care. And thank you, Judd, and thank you, Sima.
Thank you.